Hi, I'm Pradipalda. Today I'm going to discuss about the conservation of animals of standard 8. We know that conservation means a wise and judicious use of natural resources. So what will be the conservation of animals? Means all the wildlife animals. It means the animals lived in the forest. Forest are the natural habitat of the wildlife animals. So, a wise and judicious useful act will be passed on the wildlife animals, that known as a conservation of animals. And the motto of the conservation of wildlife animals of the animals is to conserve the wildlife animals, to protect the wildlife animals. Second one, provide the sufficient amount of security where they can move freely and perform the reproduction to increase their number, and provide the sufficient amount of necessary things. If there will be any affected animals, wildlife animals, then we have to provide the treatment, as well as we have to carry some workers. They are known as the forest workers. They can provide the sufficient amount of food to the all wildlife animals. These are quite easy in case of the zoo or the some conservative animals, where the wildlife animals are kept from the outside and they are present within the cage. But if we judge a large forest like the Sundarban, how the conservation of animals take place? First, we have to provide the security. So it means we have to create the barrier. One zone where the animals can move freely, and the another zone which commonly known as a buffer zone, where may the human activity can take place, but they does not enter into the deep intermediate zone or the core zone of a particular area. Now second one, we have to take care of the wildlife animals. In every 5 years or the 10 years, we are counting the numbers of tigers which present in India. The third one, we have to provide we have to create a particular environment where the animals think they are safe. These are the motto of conservation of animals. Now next one, this conservation of animals is done by using of two methods. One is the in situ conservation and another one is the ex situ conservation. In situ conservation means when the conservation of animals take place within its own habitat. If we conserve the wildlife animals within its natural habitat, it means within the forest, then that is known as a in situ conservation. And when we conserve the wildlife animals outside of its own habitat, that known as the ex situ conservation. Suppose in Sundarpari there is only one tiger present. It is quite difficult for us to conserve this tiger as is in the form of in situ. First one, we have to create the barrier so that the tigers does not enter into the human locality. We have to recruit some forest man or the forest worker. That's why no hunter can hunt the tiger. Even we have to supply the sufficient amount of food or the medicine to the tiger. Now, the number of tiger will be the one. But if we trying to create this type of facilities, it means we have to invest a huge amount of money. Now, how can we protect or conserve this one tiger? Just caught the tiger and this tiger will be shifted into the zoo, where the tiger will be protected within the cage. This type of conservation is known as a ex situ conservation. Now, the conservation of animals is done by creating the protected forest or the protected area. or a area under the state government or the national government or the UNESCO, where the wildlife animals can move freely. Without taking the permission, we can hunt them, even may the tourism is permissible or we are not going to allow the tourists to enter into the zone. This type of area are known as the protected areas. Now these protected areas generally are formed on the basis of two things. One is the protected areas which based on the in situ conservation. It means these protected area are providing the in situ mode of conservation. Now the protected areas having the in situ mode of conservation are three types: wildlife sanctuary, national park and biosphere reserve. And on the other side, the protected areas which based on the ex situ conservation, it may be the zoo or the museum, etc. Now, if we are going to discuss about the protected areas having the in situ conservation. The first one is wildlife sanctuary. Sanctuary means the holiest place or the bloodless place of a particular religion. Now this word are added with the wildlife. So wildlife sanctuary is a small protected areas under the state government where the killings are strictly prohibited, may the tourism are permissible. These type of protected areas are known as a sanctuary. Sanctuary will be the small and they contain the less amount of biodiversity. Now the example of sanctuary is Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary, Gir Sanctuary, all are the sanctuaries. Now the national park. National park means the area will be increased from the sanctuary but less than the biosphere reserve. So it's a particular protected areas where the economically or historically important things are protected and it is the under of the central government. And within this, the tourism are allowed to enter into the area. This type of area are known as a national park. For example, Kanha National Park, Jim Corbett National Park, all of the national park. They contain the amount of biodiversity are quite huge from the wildlife sanctuary but less than the biosphere reserve. Now some particular area are quite rich according to the biodiversity. It means they contain the huge number of species in a particular area that known as a biodiversity richness. If this type of biodiversity richness present in a particular area, then the UNESCO established a area or protected area which contain the huge amount of land and within which the ecosystem present and the center part of this area are strictly prohibited from the human activity. This type of protected areas are known as a biosphere reserve. For an example, Sundarban Biosphere Reserve. Now what is ecosystem? Ecosystem means, eco means habitat, system means rules. Habitat means the organism where they live, that known as a habitat. It means the rules of the habitat. Where the organism are going to be live, they are going to follow some rules, that known as a ecosystem. Now within the ecosystem there are two things are important. All the plant species present in a particular region or in a ecosystem, that known as a flora, and all the animal species present in a particular region or within a ecosystem, that known as a fauna. Now now why the human beings or we are creating the protected forest? Now there are the defined reasons for creating the protected forest. The first idea is or first aim is to conserve the wildlife animals. Along with that, we can create a business which known as a tourism. So purpose of protected areas may be the further tourism. Now, if a particular area contains a huge amount of diversity, it means this area are rich with the natural beauty. May some tourists can travel this area, and on the basis of the tourist we can create a supportive business that known as a tourism. The second one, to improve the economic value of the surroundings. Now, when a protected areas are created, and the region around the protected areas are quite draining the economy by creating the different types of business, maybe opening of the hotel, or the maybe some things which are quite important, which are quite famous in that area, they are going to sell on to this thing to the tourist. These are the topic relating to the conservation of animals. Hope you understand. Tomorrow we will discuss the rest. Till then, bye.